I would like the record to show that this audio is being filmed in the darkness of my voice, and that this is not an audio that is filmed directly after the one you just listened to. And it won't be told the same way. But I just had somebody that I loved very much disappear in an instant. And in the story I'm about to tell you, my story. Okay, not that story. That's a different story. But it didn't exactly sleep until the writing of If I Was There. I would appear in flashes, in brief moments. And that's kind of how it worked with Brie. But it wasn't as much fun when it was me. So we edited the birth story audios, and I heard all of that, and I know the what would it be called? I know the way these videos go. I may not always remember the exact details until I hear it, but I know that there's no Psych ward audio, and we did talk about it. Not quite as openly, but we did talk about it. We had a YouTube video, or a YouTube channel, but we had a YouTube video set of 3. And when we got back from the Psych ward, we filmed that video, but nobody watched our channel. So nobody watched those videos, and we didn't have quite the community that we do now. So that story just kind of became one where, when it was talked about, it took a really big thing and just made it digestible. And then we would put stuff in TikToks, in honor of it, because it was a bit like September 15th. It's an anniversary, just like every other one. But it wasn't a baby dying. It wasn't something that people could see, even if it was just a ghost ultrasound picture. So it just kind of disappeared anywhere other than inside our mind and our memories. So I can't be the only one holding on to it anymore, So, but it's weird. It's like she films all those videos, and it's like we don't have as much of that. Like, oh man, we're gonna get in trouble for talking about it because anybody we'd get in trouble with isn't a concern. So I just need to speak into the void, and then we'll see if it gets published, because I get it. So after our youngest was born, you'd assume that the pain was horrible, and so was the being called an addict. And you know how it is when people say, call if you need any help. Well, then when you go to call, they're not always there. And well, B wasn't exactly the type to beg people for help, though. Eventually, B would start talking about it feeling like there was something on her shoulder, like a devil, a bad part of her. And don't get me wrong, I wasn't nice, but I think that's assumed. But she didn't make me sound nearly as mean as I was, believe me. I laugh out of nerves, not because I'm proud of it, but this is my way of paying her back, because I don't know, maybe it's proof that she will protect people she loves. Point is, she would hold so tight to positivity, and then I would just bring it all down. And then when you're only listening to what you hear in your mind, and there's somebody yelling over everything else, it is kind of hard to see any light. And one day I'm telling you, my heart's pounding out of my chest right now. I don't know if I'm even the one that's scared. I know that's an odd thing to say, but it's true. We refused to do what we wanted to do until we were able to get help. I know everybody has their reasons, but I had a family that loved me very much. I'm talking about my kids, and I'm talking about my husband. And that's who, at that point in my life, I felt truly loved me and would be truly devastated, not who would use my death as means to get sympathy, what a loss to me. I held on for those 3 because I knew their every day would be different if I was gone. That my husband would absolutely collapse. Like, I genuinely believe that he would die of a heart attack, because his heart would literally, and my children they'd lose their whole world. I'm aware of that. But you just ask and we'll be there. You don't have to handle it all on your own. You don't have to do it. The friend that we told you about that took our oldest when our youngest was born, one day we got a call from her, and when we talk about good Christian women, she's one of them. God spoke through her. God loved her so much, and she loved God, and she never used it for harm, and she truly was an earth angel. And I've known that. That's why that's why I did it. Because one day we were on the phone with her, and she was very honest about the fact that she was scared, and she was scared that Bee was too close to the edge and was very, very likely to fall, even accidentally. And sleep is a big thing for us, and we were not getting a lot of it. Our physical sensation, as far as like sensory, we don't do well when things hurt, and we were having issues with cracked things. Like it's not a huge piece, but just sensory wise, keep that. I promise I'm not trying to be vulgar. It's just, that's the truth. Everything hurt. There was no sleep happening. And then when there was sleep, it would be broken up sleep. Well, anybody who has trauma with sleep knows that broken up sleep is sometimes worse than just extended not sleeping. That broken up sleep, the way it just is, if you already have an anxiety, well, there was always a little bit of a volcano, but when I showed up again, it was like the volcano was back, and I had seen the worst people, and I had seen that they would just hurt people, and then say, well, I hurt people because and it just was like, no, absolutely not. So when our friend mentioned going to the hospital, even I was like, it's a good idea. But I could tell you all then we got out of the parking lot, like, you can connect the dots. We got up into the ER. I'm sitting in the bed, I don't need to give you that lead up. You already know that I was absolutely scared leaving my husband. You already know that I was beating myself up for leaving my kids, and one of them, I was knowingly going to stop breastfeeding after 10 months because I couldn't. I was about to go into the psych ward. I wasn't going to be pumping, and I'm sure there must have been some way to keep pumping. I don't know exactly how that, because the meds and all that, but no way, absolutely not. But I don't think I need to tell you how it felt to knowingly walk into the ER, knowing that I wasn't going to see Kevin for days. I don't need to tell you that, because you know how that probably felt for me if you've listened to any of this from the past. But I didn't, because I knew I had to. But what I wasn't expecting was to be sitting in the room and I can't in this moment tell you who she was, but some sort of crisis counselor, nurse, whoever you'd expect to be talking to me, but she was trying to talk me out of going to the psych ward, and she was like, it's not going to be a good experience for you. And she's like, can you just wait till Monday and go to the doctor? And I said, ma'am, I'm not going to be here Monday if you let me walk out of here. She was scared, and that should have been probably my moment to just say risk it and leave the hospital. I know. I wish that I could tell you that this psych ward story was full of positivity and hope. But I guess I wouldn't be telling you this if it was like that, right? Because it's the psych ward. And I ended up, I got on, I was there for hours. My period started because I had stopped the night before breastfeeding, and I don't know if that would have always happened or if the knee does not. I don't, it's only the next day, but somehow. Okay. That scared the shit out of me. You probably didn't hear it. I don't know. You may have heard it on it, but that scared me. Hold on. Okay, I gotta get it back. So my period started, and eventually the ambulance showed up, and it got us to there. And I remember, so that, they did the strip search, and I had a tattoo. I had been into temporary tattoos. And I had a really big one, and it was on my bicep, and it was wearing off. And they questioned me for quite a while about that, because they couldn't. They thought it was a bruise, and I wasn't being honest. And I'm like, no. And they're checking me for injuries, and clear-headed now, I understand. Well, yeah, obviously they're checking. They think that they need to know all your injuries. But I was like, no, I didn't. I had some self-harming, but it wasn't anything like that. I did have a couple healing ones, and I remember that, that's what made it not believable when I was like, no, that's a tattoo. So we went through that, but then I remember standing in front of the nurse's station as they're trying to figure out who to put me with. And they're like fighting in my defense. And it honestly scared me more than them being mean, because it felt like they were wishing I had told that other lady that I wasn't in a coma, like I wasn't supposed to. I found out later that the reason that the vibe was that way was because I wasn't supposed to be on that floor. That I got put on, like if I was a level 1, I got put on level 3. And they knew that. I was also not informed until I saw the first man that it was co-ed. And I saw the first man when they put me in with a woman who talked in her sleep. And the things she said in her sleep scared me to such a degree that I started crying. And the security guard who did the checks saw me crying, told the nurses, and the nurses put me in solitary confinement for my own safety. So I laid on the floor of solitary confinement on the little tiny mattress, and I went to sleep. And I cried myself to sleep, but I went to sleep, and then when I woke up, I was covered in blood. And as I turned over to be like, oh, that's inconvenient, I looked up into the window, and there was a man standing in the window staring at me and, doing lewd gestures as you'd expect. But I just started sobbing, and the nurse had to come in, and she basically was like, hey, girl, if you ever want to get out of here, you should stop crying immediately. And that scared me more, because it was kind of like, oh, so it's another one of those silent to survive things. Wonderful. Super. But I learned the lesson of, when you're being silent and someone else is trying to get, sometimes you have the side that they just give up, and they're just like, oh. Sometimes you have the side that just gives up and just goes, fine. They're stupid. They can't talk. They don't know how to talk. Suddenly go on mute. Sometimes you have that side. Sometimes you have the side that's like, if you won't talk to me, I'm going to make you talk to me. There was a lot more of the the second side than there was the first side. And one of them I met because I'm covered in blood. So I was like, hey, what do I gotta do? And so they gave me some pads, and they told me, well, you can go take a shower. And so I went, wonderful. They didn't tell me the shower was co-ed and had no door. Oh, and had a giant dude right outside the door catcalling about joining you. So safe to say I didn't take a shower the whole time I was there. But to put the pad on, you still had to use the bathroom, but it was at least shorter. And they gave me, sorry, I think I bumped that. They gave me some new clothes, and I am truly blessed that I've met a couple people, though. And it makes me sad to say this, but I don't remember their names. But I'm very thankful I met them, because it made me feel just the slightest bit less alone. And I think it would have been really bad to our mental health. It was already, we were already struggling, but if we had been alone, physically, we had been alone for a while. But then we met Kevin, and so then we had Kevin. And obviously there's times that we're not around Kevin, but because of who Kevin is, he's trained us to, I felt a lot more confident. Well, back then it was like we were in there without him, and even worse, he couldn't get in. I guess that's the thing. Obviously, it's not like I'm always in his sight. I have to hold my own everywhere else, obviously. But there's the knowing that if we need him and he has the ability to get to us, he's getting to us. Well, before this, we didn't even know when we were going to talk to him, because we had just gone in, And so there was a big thing of just trying to how do the phones work? How can I? And all of a sudden we got this fear that we were never getting out. What if we never get out? What if they don't let us out? And then they're like, okay, time to go back into solitary. It was almost like a feeling had somehow turned into an experience. And then there were these patients who, they were in there because they had gotten really hurt. One of them drank on meds, and her wrist paid for it. And then there was somebody who just needed them to pay her rent. And then there was a dad that was us where, like, I just want to stay for my kid, just help. But at the end of it all, and I know that's jumping a lot, I said another one of those, okay, so then I tell you how they moved me up eventually, and then they made my husband promise to have care to watch me, and then they just, at the end of it, put me in a taxi and sent me home with a prescription. I had prescriptions for there's 4 or 5 meds, and they're like, hey, here you go, put me in a taxi. And even on the way to the taxi, there's another taxi. And so then this one guy's like, no, don't go to him. He's not an actual taxi. I'm your driver. But then the other guy's like, no, don't go with him. I'm your driver. Are you kidding me? I wish I was making this up, dude. The entire ride home through Las Vegas, the entire ride home, I'm absolutely terrified that this dude's not going to my house. He did, thankfully. He was the right driver. And then I just walked inside and I went back to life. And I filmed YouTube videos. And I tried to build an entire channel of maternal mental illness because I was going to make sure that my pain had a purpose. But my core audience was the same people who hadn't noticed that I was that bad off. And they did do a meal, a meal train. They did that and we got some good food and we're blessed for that. We also got evicted the next month and it sent us into when I started Goddess Glow Up, we were finally okay, so let's go to the very beginning, the withdrawal TikTok that really started the whole channel, that RV. That ties all the way back to this moment where we got evicted and we had to move in with a roommate, and it wasn't a good experience, and then we left, and then we came back, and then we left again, and then we lived in a motel, then an RV, then another RV. We went to a therapist right after, the appointed one that you have to do to get out of there. Do the meds, do the therapy, or you don't leave. Okay, fine. He had one session and tried to tell me that I needed to divorce Kevin because he was a bad influence on me. Yeah. That is why we say that it is absolutely incredible what has happened to us as a system. Because you all weren't there. It's valid. You don't remember. You didn't experience it. But I remember laying on the floor of a solitary confinement in a psych ward, far away from the one person that makes her feel safe, far from her babies, something that is not usual for her. She cried herself to sleep. And that's after all of those births. That's why I have to do this. Even if I just all of a sudden have to just stop it and we never hear the rest. And it's like, that would suck. Maybe I would film more later. I don't know. But it's kind of like anything that I can get out for this audio, and at least somebody will hear it. Somebody will be with her in that moment. A lot of this stuff with us, you read after the fact. Oh, it's like, I just need somebody to see that she laid there. And I need everybody who has ever lived a moment like this to understand, like, the moment that you wake up, you're already delirious from sleeping. You have that one moment of when something really bad happens, and then you wake up the next morning and for that split second, you're like, because you think it's going to be like birds singing, and then your eyes recognize, oh, I'm here, or you remember, oh, they died, or oh, that did happen yesterday. That moment I lock eyes with somebody through a window, and I'm the one locked in the room. I couldn't say enough words for you to understand that. You only understand if you've ever locked eyes with somebody on the other side of the window or in your threshold, your bedroom door's threshold. There's no words. You either know the feeling or you don't. And I just need whoever listens to this to just, I don't know how energy works. Send her the energy or something. I don't know. Because it's like everything else. There's not really an ending. I told you I went home, so I survived it. But it's like, there's a bunch of little moments that it's like, if you've been to a psych ward, you're like, oh, I don't even have to tell you. You're probably assuming somebody got sedated. Yeah, you're right. Somebody got angry. Yeah, absolutely. Somebody complained about the food. Yeah. Somebody offered me a cigarette, and I was like, I don't smoke. And they're like, do you want to start? I'm already dealing with bad mental health. Now you're gonna try to give me an addiction. And the funny part is, like, even as bad as everything was, I was like, ew, no. I got enough strikes against me, guys. I'm not trying to give myself an addiction to cigarettes. But I did go outside with them. Because at least I could be outside. And I was like, hey, if that's all the joy I can have right now until I can get back to my family, then I would go outside and I would look at the sky. And I would know, like, you know, like, the sky's the sky. The sky, buildings can't contain it. That's the same sky my husband can look at. And so every smoke break, we'd go out there just to be outside, just to be one step closer. During this day, though, you know, I told you about the being scared about the phone. Well, he did call. He called, and, or no, I think I called him. I think, because my childhood best friend called me, and she did call me. I didn't call her. She did call me, but I think Kevin, I called him, and I remember hearing his voice, and just, I literally made him say, if they won't let me out, you will get me out, right? And he reassured me. He was like, yes, I will get you out. But I just think such a specific request, you know, now that I know what I know, all these years later, I was so reassured just by him saying that he would not let them keep me against my will. Like, it just made me feel like I had somebody just, oh, I left out a key piece. I've said it so many times, but I mean, it is, I guess we'll say it every time because it's just kind of a slap in the face. While I was in the waiting room, so sorry, like I said, big jump, but while I was in the waiting room, my mother came in because she always had to show up when there was an emergency. Like an emergency situation. And we were at the hospital. She wanted to, like, if she wasn't there, you know, at a certain point when she couldn't be there physically, she would just be like, it doesn't matter. Sorry, it doesn't matter. Point is, she came into the ER and just got a really relieved look on her face and was like, oh, I'm so glad you came here, because if you didn't come, I was gonna call CPS on you. She said that to her daughter, who had significant trauma regarding CPS, a constant fear of CPS, and was really scared about getting in trouble for having the postpartum depression. She said that, and then a few minutes later, she was like, okay, I gotta get out of here. Good luck. I love you. And then she left. Then I went to the psych ward. Yeah. Then I went through the whole psych ward trip, and then I went home. So I told you all that. I only forgot to tell you that she showed up to the ER, but I didn't leave out where she called during it or anything. And so then I was back home, and I was so happy to be back home. You know, and the meals were incredible. So I don't mean to discredit that. It was amazing. I just got put on these meds and then just kept going. And I just don't want that experience. Like, I know those videos that I did all those years ago were probably a lot more like in depth of the step by step, but to listen to those birth stories and then know this story and then know the rest of our 20s all the way to 29 walking at the park, like, it's been really cool to watch what's been happening with Unmuted, but it almost feels like the options are endless at this point, because if we each told you our stuff, it'd be a lot of audio. But the problem is when it's, like, I feel like B should tell you, but then it's like, no, because it ain't caused the postpartum depression. I understand that. But it didn't make it easier either. And she thought she was a runner, but I think she was actually more of a escaper, which checks out, honestly. I don't think she was, like, running to abandon. She was running to get to safety. But the problem is she was the one causing the storm, you know, like, it almost felt sometimes like she was on fire and she was running away to save the other people from burning, but not understanding they can help you not be on fire if you just let them. But in a way, I'm thankful for it, because I think it helped Kevin understand who I was before I officially showed up, because I remember he would look at me kind of like it's odd. There was not judgment. It was just a like like almost like he was looking at me, but I wasn't me, and it was like, what is different about you? You know, like that's the very beginning. He would let me, because I would run the specific spots, you know, he knew where to look. And so he would let me long enough to cool off, and then he would show up. But just looking back, like, so bad, because he breathed too hard and I was mad. But he was good with always reminding me who I was. Like, no matter how bad the volcano got, how bad the storm got, whatever, he was good with going like, all right, you can be upset, but that's not you, you know. And man, it would make me mad in the moment, but I always knew it was right. And it was almost like a grounding thing of like, yeah, you're right. We found a recipe for lactation cookies before, and so after, of course, we would comfort ourselves because we're on these new meds, and we had already started a like a binge eating situation before. So after, after, it was kind of like the expectation of help was there, but then nothing ever happened. It brought me back to just any time in my childhood where it was like, so we're just not going to talk about that. We're just moving on. Just not a problem anymore. Like, and so it was like, the sympathy was there for a while, the messages. And then it was like, okay, you're all good now. And it was almost like a smack on the back. All right, you got it now? Okay, see you later. And then it was like, no, I still don't have anything. And I can only imagine, from my children's point of view, they say that they're too young and don't even remember it, but it's like their nervous systems do. I've done a lot of, I read a lot of books about that, so I understand. I mean, not the full depths of what I could understand, but enough to know that their soul knows that they were separated from their mother for even a short amount of time. And then when their mother came back, she was on a bunch of meds and then just started gaining weight rapidly. And they don't care about the gaining weight, but the effect it had on an already not good confidence level. I guess that's it. I don't want to give too much to have to edit, And I feel like at this point I would just be rambling, but okay, that's it. I hope this gets published because it's important. It's probably not as polished as usual or as entertaining maybe, but I'm glad I made it because she deserves it. So thank you for listening. Really, all of them, but oh gosh, this is a long one. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Brie.